So 10.4 and 10.5 are quite lengthy. 10.4 should not be an issue. Now, when we get into 10.5, we're going to get to 10.5 starting Thursday. When we get into 10.5, that's one where you have to find equations of lines.
Today is Thursday. You mean next Thursday?
Next Thursday, after the test. So, and then in college algebra, you see that all over again with equations of lines. So they're going to assume, for the most part, that you know how to find equations of lines when you get to college algebra, because there are other things you do with it. All right, so let's go about 10.4 though. Let's suppose I want to graph this line. Y equals 3x plus 1. Okay? Y equals 3x plus 1. That's the easy kind. That's the easy kind to graph because y is already by itself. Right? And so I'm going to graph this using a t-table. And I'm just going to use 2 points because of our time constraint. So if x is 0, since y is by itself, I'm plugging numbers for x. So if x is 0, I get y equals 3 times 0 plus 1. So what's y? 1. If x is, let's say, 2, I get y equals 3 times 2 plus 1. So that's 6 plus 1, which is 7. Okay? So I'm going to plot those 2 points. So 0, 1. And then 2, 7 is here. Okay? Then I'm going to draw the line. And so when I draw this line, I got this. So this is nothing new. This is stuff you've had from beginning with section 10.3, graphing lines. In fact, you had to turn that in today. All right, now what I want to do, though, is find the slope. All right, well, you can find the slope. We talked about that last class we were in today, right? To find the slope, we use a slope formula. Let's label the points, though. So that's going to be 2, 7, and this is going to be 0, 1, correct? All right. And let's call this x1, then this has to be y1. Then this is x2, this has to be y2. My slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? What's y2? No. 1. Minus, what's y1? 7. Divided by, what's x2? No. Where y'all getting these from, guys? 0, right? Subtract, what's x1? 2. What's the numerator? 1 subtract 7 is not 8.
Negative 8.
1 subtract 7 is not negative 8. Negative 6.
My bad.
Do I have access to calculators? So use it, please. Zero subtract 2 is not 2. Negative 2. And negative divided by negative is a positive. So what's the slope? 3. Slope is 3. Okay? Slope is 3. All right, now listen carefully. You can easily tell me what the y-intercept here is, because you can see a nice point where it crosses the y-axis. The y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, right? Where does it cross the y-axis? At what y value? 1. Okay, I'm going to ask you this. If I look at this equation over here, if I look at this equation right here, do you see the slope listed anywhere? What is the slope of this problem? 3. I'm going to ask you again. If I look at this equation right here, do you see the slope at all?
Yeah.
Yes. The slope is the coefficient of x. Do you see the y-intercept at all? Yes, you do. The y-intercept is your constant. Okay. So then let's think about this. What if I had this? What if I had this? I'm going to ask you this. All right. From there, can you tell me what the slope is without graphing it?
Negative 2, whatever that is, thirds.
Thirds. Very good. Negative 2/3. Can you tell me what the y-intercept is? Can you tell me where the graph's going to cross the y-axis? At negative 4. Let's graph it and see if it is true. Let's do a t-table. Now I'm doing this to remind you what I want. Since the coefficient of x is a fraction, I want you to use numbers that are divisible by 3. So like 0 for x. What's another number for x? Negative 3 and 8. Positive 3, 6 and 8. Negative 6, 9 and 8. Negative 9 and so on. Any other number is going to give you fractions. So if x is 0, I get y equals negative 2/3 times 0, subtract 4, right? Negative 2/3 times 0 is 0. 0 subtract 4 is negative 4. Good. I'm just going to do 2 points. Let's do negative 3 for x. If x is negative 3, I got y equals negative 2/3 times a negative 3, subtract 4. What is this product? Negative 2/3 times a negative 3. First of all, a negative times a negative is a what? Positive. So what's a negative 2/3 times a negative 3? Say it again. 2. Positive 2. Because the 3's divide out, right? So a negative 2 times a negative 1 is a positive 2. What is 2 subtract 4? Negative 2. All right, so let's plot that point. So 0. Go ahead. We wrote it backwards, didn't I?
Yeah.
Shoot. I'm sorry. Y'all didn't tell me. Y'all wait until I realized that. All right. So 0, negative 4 is here. And then the other one was what? Negative 3, negative 2? Negative 3, negative 2. Y'all did it on purpose, too. Negative 3, negative 2 is here. Now let's label it. Angela, tell me what this coordinate is right here.
Are you talking about the part where you,
Oh, first of all, is that an X or a Y that I'm pointing to?
are you talking about the 0, negative 4?
No, girl. Negative 3, negative 2.
Negative
Tell me about negative 3. Is that an X or a Y?
X.
That's an X. So I'm going to call this X1 or X2. It does not matter. Let's call it X1. So that's my first point. Then negative 2 has to be a Y1. Okay, 0 then becomes X what? 2. Good. Negative 4 becomes... No, negative...
Y, I'm sorry, Y2.
All right. All right, let's plug in. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. I'm hoping I get what slope? Negative 2/3. Negative 2/3. All right, and then let's draw the line because we are talking about the slope of a line. All right, so there's my line, right? All right, so I know it had to be negative, but we talked about the fact it better be negative 2/3. So y2 is negative 4. Subtract y1, which is a negative 2. Divided by x2 is 0. Subtract x1 is negative 3, correct? Ooh, it's 7:15. Okay, hold on. Let's just finish this one. Negative 4 subtract negative 2 is what? Negative 4 plus... Ooh, use your calculator, girlfriend. minus a negative 2.
Oh, 4, so it's.
So it's negative 4 plus 2, which is a negative 2. 0 subtract negative 3 is 0 plus 3, which is 3. And you notice you get what? Negative 2/3. And notice what's the y-intercept? Where does it cross the y-axis? At what y value?
0,
What was the y value, though? Negative 4. So hence, what we're going to do, what you have to know now is this. Whenever you get y by itself, see how y is by itself? Then the coefficient of x is your slope. And this constant is your what? Y-intercept. We denote the y-intercept, and we're going to talk about this Thursday. We denote the y-intercept with the letter B. So this is B. We denote the y-intercept with the letter B. So there's a formula you're going to learn, and it's called this. Y equals mx plus b. So whenever you get y by itself, the number you multiply an x by is called the what? Slope. And the constant is called the what? Y-intercept. So next class, what's going to happen is that y won't be by itself. So that's where we have to start talking about, well, how do I get y by itself? So that's what we're going to do next class period.
when is this 10.4 part due?